let's dive in. And how do we do this? How do we delegate well? Because when we delegate well, it will free us up our time. It will drive productivity. It reduces stress. It reduces resentment. It reduces conflict. Okay, so this is one of those topics. All of us, regardless of our position, title, role, doesn't make a difference. All of us need to have this in our leadership toolbox for sure. Okay, so just very quickly before we go into the three action steps, did any of the stats really jump out to you, Brent? Anything that you found like super interesting or insightful?
Well, just that last one, and maybe it's the same thing that you were going to touch on, is
Yeah.
that investing to to delegate just 10% can lead to a 20% return of on business growth. Like that's a pretty hefty scalability factor there of doubling your outcome potentially by delegating just 10%. So I don't know how much it's realistic to expect anyone to delegate of their entire workload, but if you can consistently be doing that and or getting your senior team to be doing that consistently, that could really make a big difference multiplied across an entire organization.
Right. Yeah, the reason that one, and that was actually the research piece that I actually found that really kind of spoke to me. And it's fun for Brent and I actually to even go through this content again because, we created this content over the last few years. So it's great as a refresher for us even to kind of be seeing the stats. We lead a couple of different masterminds. One of them is a women entrepreneur mastermind, and I was actually just coaching the women just before this call, actually. And so we were talking about, again, business growth, where how do you drive your business, strengthen your relationships with balance. And so anything around kind of scaling and growing your business is kind of part of the topics that we talk about. But it's a really powerful stat, right? Like exactly as you said, Brent, like 10%. If we can just delegate 10%, it's going to drive 20% of business growth. And I think that's just one of those like little nuggets, those little stats that is really helpful to remind us, because I think for a lot of us who, if you are a professional, you're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, the tendency is it takes time to delegate. I think that's why what blocks a lot of us, right? Is like, I know it's good, I know it's important, but I have like this massive list of things I have to get done. So it's one of those things, it's like almost it's just it's tricky. We have to really focus very significantly on the big picture. Why is this actually important? So it takes time, but it saves us time.
Yeah.
You can kind of really kind of get into the trap of that. So I think that's really an important piece. Just before we get into the steps, what do you think holds people back from delegating more? Go ahead, everybody, in the chat function. What's your guess? Why? Because I think intellectually, intuitively, all of us know why delegation is actually an important skill set, and yet so few of us actually really know how to do it well. So what do you think actually, what's the barrier? What would you say? What's the barrier? What is holding us back from delegating more at the office or at home?
Karen, I would bet we could qualify this question by saying which, because we've got our three action steps that we're going to be digging into here.
Yeah.
I bet I bet people could more quickly say, is it the what, the who, or the how that holds them
Mhm.
back?
Oh,
That's what I'm curious about. Which one of those three tends to be a barrier? I
Okay.
know which one comes to
Yeah.
mind for.
No, I think that's a great question, Brandon. Let's do that
Yeah,
right after everybody answers here.
let's make
Okay,
the
Daddy,
answer.
it's easier for me to quickly do the task. I hear you. Brienne, other people are not completing assigned tasks to my standards. That's kind of with what Brent was saying. Okay, Richard, some people have a hard time asking people with what to do. Confidence, thank you, Alana. Willing to let go, thinking that others will not do it as well as us, but we will also forget the mistakes we made when we first learned the task. Thank you, Stephen. Denver, knowing it will be done correctly if you do the task yourself. Yeah. So a lot of people are connecting, I think, Brent, to your story. Loss of control over things being done the way we want, the time it takes to explain it. So it really takes time. It's easier for me just to handle things so I know that they're done the way that I want them to be done correctly. Work. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So Brent, a lot of people are connecting with what you said.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Like that's I think there's well, I mean, and we're gonna explore what those barriers are for people here in just a few minutes here, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not
Okay.
surprised.
Okay, so let's now dive into the three action steps. And just before we dive into the three, the one that I really want to uh, emphasize is around The why. Why is it so important? So when you think about, let's say I'm a magician and I'm going to, all of a sudden you're going to leave this call, you're leaving this masterclass and you know exactly how to delegate in the office and how to delegate at home. What do you think are going to be the benefits? Go ahead in the chat function, everybody. What do you think is going to happen? What are the benefits you are going to see when you learn how to effectively delegate? In the chat function, everybody, what do you think will happen?
More free time. Yeah. What else, folks?
Everyone's like, I don't know. I don't know what that's like. Empowering your team members, family members.
It's really good. Thanks, Darcy.
Okay. More free time. More free time. Less time working, more efficiency as a team. Evelyn distributed workload, able to focus on something new, better production.
What about a more rounded team?
Cost salary is related to who's doing what. Thank you, Stephen. That's actually really good. Yep. Okay. Career growth. Okay. So here's what I see. Okay. And I think this is a really important thing. Before we dive into the three, we have to get really focused on the why, because the why will help to drive us. The why is the purpose. The why is going to be the energy. So why is delegation so critical? On the work side, we see it free up people's time, drives productivity, teams are more aligned. It's fantastic for career growth. We see it really strongly in engagement and retention strategies. If you've read my book, The Three Chairs, I talk about the different generations, how the younger generations, the millennials, the Gen Zs, they really want more work. In fact, a lot of them actually are saying that if they don't have enough work, they get bored. And if they get bored, they disengage and they quit. So we see this actually as an engagement and retention issue as well. And obviously for managers, senior leaders, they actually have more time to focus on bigger items, bigger, higher level projects or initiatives. That's on the work side. On the home side, when we see families delegate better, families now work as a team. It's one of the things that Brett and I work really hard at is developing our family as we are a team. We are a team, and part of a team is we all have a role and we all have jobs. We all contribute to the system of our family system. And so what that does is that actually all of a sudden the load gets shared. So we really have that feeling of unity, of harmony. And there's not, and I would actually say we get a lot of things done. So productivity actually, even a home front actually goes up. But I would also say that there's not resentment. When we haven't done this as well, what you'll see with families, if there's not really strong delegation on the family system, you'll see one or two family members where they'll feel very resentful because they feel like they're doing so much more of the load. It feels imbalanced. So then because of that resentment, that can cause conflict, that can cause frustration. So when you have a really healthy team system at home, you'll see that actually that there's more harmony and there's more unity and positive energy, I'd actually even say. And so it's really it's all things for us to win. There's no negatives other than the fact that it does take some time and some strategy on how do we do it.